There are approximately 270 million adults in the U.S. Of those, ballpark about 75 million engage in some sort of resistance training program, and surveys indicate that more than 50 million Americans run at least on occasion. But when it comes to adults over 35, masters athletes who actually sprint train, the numbers are much, much lower. Now, for purposes of this video, we're going to define sprinting as close to max intensity efforts over short durations. Generally, you're going to be under 20 seconds in duration. In the vast majority of cases, well under a minute. And actually, at least as part of that sprint training program, there should be intervals that approach max velocity and are actually, under 15 seconds in duration. The Sports and Fitness Industry Association tracks some 125 plus activities by level of participation. Now, there's not a specific category for sprint training or max velocity sprinting. It might fall under the general category of kind of a subcategory of running or subcategory of track and field. But given the level of participation in more popular activities, your swimming, tennis, golf, hiking, walking, running, and so forth, it would be pretty much at the bottom of the list because I believe the participation level is just that low compared to more popular activities. Now, what are some of the reasons why former athletes or just adults in general find it challenging to engage in sprint training? Well, obviously, in certain parts of the country, the weather is not favorable. It's very cold in the winter months, or it maybe rains a lot. And so that makes it a little more challenging to train outside, at least certainly in those months. Certainly, career and family make training in general more challenging. Trying to juggle those responsibilities with training. Obviously, the risk of injury, or actually kind of bouncing back from injuries, can make intensive type training a little more difficult. For former athletes, you've got kind of the ego issue of the age-related performance decline, and so kind of comparing performance as a masters athlete compared to where they were in their youth, and so maybe there's a tendency to just kind of migrate to another sport where they don't have that comparison metric. And then for former athletes, you kind of lose a little bit of identity because they no longer have free coaching, free access to training rooms, free access to tracks, the team environment and so forth. And once they leave school, all those support structures just kind of disappear. So there's a tendency to just go into other types of training. Maybe functional fitness would be an example where there's at least kind of that team or community type environment that you don't have, say, with individual sprint training, where a lot of it is kind of solo basis. So without getting too much into the detail of how I came up with this assumption, I'm coming up with just a rough estimate of about 12.5 million Americans, master's level adults, 35 and above, who at the high school level were either engaged in sprint training as part of a track team or involved in some other sport where speed was a critical component of that sport and sprinting might have been part of their training. Now, we've also said that there's more than 50 million Americans who are involved in running. And but I believe the survivorship ratio of those former high school kind of speed athletes is less than 1 in 1,000 at the master's level, again 35 and above, as far as sprinting as adults. And of the 50 million Americans, we're talking probably, like I said, 1 in 5,000 adults who run were actually engaged in what I define as sprint training. So I'm saying my number here, just rough estimate, 10,000 Americans that are doing sprint training, possibly even less than that. Obviously, if you have any evidence that supports a different number, please feel free to share that in the comments. Or also in other countries outside the U.S., Canada, England, Australia, Caribbean, and so forth, please feel free to share any stats that you have. I'd be interested to know, but I believe that yes, in the U.S., we may have millions of individuals involved in dozens and dozens of activities, but sprint training is a very unique type of training that just very few individuals are engaged in for a number of reasons. So Thank you. Until next video.